the moon and Venus. There are so many unanswered questions, and we will try to observe. So again, that should be the moon and Venus. We're going to try to focus in on the moon first, perhaps. Alright, mosquitoes, great. Okay, switching to manual focus on the moon. We might not have it focused correctly. Now we're going to pan towards Venus. So very clearly you see the moon, where the moon is and where Venus is. Adjusting manual. Not all the way towards infinity. Okay, adjusting it. That is a pretty neat effect. Again, that's out of focus. Okay, so now we're just gonna go for the in focus, and right now it seems to be overexposed, so we're going to increase the shutter. Okay. That's interesting. Okay, that's interesting. Are we better focused this time? Okay, the last time it seemed to be like a ball in the sky. This time it seems to be, you see the crescent silhouette? So that's interesting. Okay, too much mosquitoes, we're gonna try to replicate the step. Control, just to make sure we're getting the right results. Replicate. Basically, go all the way back out. We're gonna turn the camera off, turn it back on, start Wait, it's probably not necessary to turn it off. Okay, so stop recording and then we'll... Okay, control. Try to do a sort of, whatever you want to call it, makeshift quality control, the moon and Venus. Let's see if we're getting the results. Okay, zoom back in. Increasing the shutter to get the right exposure. Okay, it seems to have this crescent silhouette. And what happens if, okay, so let's go back. We don't want it too much, we don't want like a lot of digital crop. Gonna start it again. It's hard to tell the digital, where the digital crop began. So let's try to, we're not very, okay, gonna start, so for this one, start recording right where the optical should be finished and where the digital begins. So okay, so I want to leave it here for a moment before going all the way in. Adjusting different exposure before going all the way in. On basically overexposed, and then increasing it for the right exposure, increasing the shutter. And then we're going to go in all the way and pan back out for a moment. So pan back out for a moment, and we're going to adjust the manual to see again the effects. Okay, just got a, alright, just a dark screen, nothing showing up. Okay, now we're going to pan towards Venus using the autofocus mode. So we're still, okay, so let's see, autofocus. Adjusting the shutter. Okay, so it looks like you saw that, how it went into the silhouette, then it went into that, again, it went into that kind of like a round ball shape. So the silhouette is probably the in-focused version. And this is on autofocus right now. So actually, it looks like the autofocus focused in, perhaps. So this is autofocus. Okay, it looks like it's properly focused in on autofocus, but you see in the beginning, it has that effect, that out of focus effect. But all we're doing here is adjusting the shutter, and it looks like the camera's doing all the work. Looks like this camera's doing basically all the work. Okay, gonna zoom out. Okay, we're done. There's just too much mosquitoes. Okay, and again, zooming out, so you see that's definitely Venus. Hold on, we gotta increase the exposure just so. Okay, otherwise, all right, and that's the moon. It's on autofocus, so now we can just point and zoom, right? And adjust the shutter speed. And towards the moon. So earlier we're having issues with the focus on the moon. It was kind of oscillating in and out, even on basically using autofocus. So let's see if it, maybe that's something to do with the effects of viewing this object, the moon, through the thick sky. Okay, we just switched it to manual focus, and it seems we are focused in on it. Okay, so a lot of times when we're adjusting the manual focus, it looks like it's sharp on the LCD, then you view the video and it's really just not really focused in. So again, on manual focus, if it's blurry, it's the only explanation is we're not focusing it correctly if it turns out blurry here. But again, that's about it. The moon. Actually, the crescent looks pretty interesting. Yeah, we probably don't have it manually focused right. And again, on manual focus, so if it's blurry, it's the operator. So this is for the crater on max. So we want to see the crater, whatever shadows that are cast. So it's just our observations. Is it rocky? Is it geological? Does it contain water? Alrighty then. No, actually, one more thing. We wanted to film the moon on a higher ISO just to see if we can kind of, if you can see the silhouette of the rest of the moon in the sky. Can you see the silhouette of the rest of the moon in contrast to the sky at a higher ISO? So let's see if we just slightly move the camera. Are you seeing? Can you see the rest of the moon? Okay, we just increased the ISO to 3200. ISO 3200. Okay, 3200. Okay, so now on the camera, actually, you know what? You can see it on the camera. Can you see it with the naked eye? That's a self-directed rhetorical question. You can see it with the naked eye. You can make out you can see the moon. Basically, the rest of the moon is very visible in the sky, not just the illuminated portion. The rest of the moon is very visible, but it is more apparent after we turned up the ISO on the camera. And now we're going to basically play around with it. So that looks really interesting because we just boosted the ISO up big time. So now you're seeing the rest of you're seeing the rest of it illuminated where it wasn't before, and this effect, it looks really interesting. So again, note the technical changes we made, basically adjusting the camera. And now we're going to adjust the shutter. So right now, maximum maximum exposure, and then we're going to, okay, now we're changing the exposure. So again, so basically, Is this on autofocus or manual focus? Okay, so that was on autofocus, and we set it to manual focus again. If it's blurry, it's the operator. We were losing the focus on autofocus for some reason. Maybe we don't have the settings right, some other setting, who knows. But again, what we want to do here is show you this effect here. Basically, we increased it to the maximum optical zoom, which means if we zoom out, the focus is going to change, and you have to, don't bother adjusting the focus. But again, this effect here, so we're going to again decrease the shutter for maximum exposure, right? Okay. Again, you might see it become blurry because we're doing it by manual hand. Okay. And then we're going to, so this again, it's the exposure, because the shutter is all the way to basically to like the lowest setting. And now we're going to increase the shutter again. See? Slowly, slowly, slowly. And there. Okay, alrighty then. That was a fun test.